Work to Game presents Anthem Free Radio, coming at you live and on YouTube, with your hosts, Brian, Chemistro, and Nightmare Demon. Adventure with us as we learn more about the world of Anthem.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Anthem Free Radio, Episode 7, Take 2. I'm your host, Brian, and joining me in a historic episode, we've got Chemistro and Nightmare Demon coming off their hiatus from Christmas, as well as our break from our last episode, Episode 6. But it's historic because we have iGame here at Mav, essentially, Mav or iGameHDR on Twitter. Mav, this guy is the guy who's been putting together the summaries over on Reddit. Every week the devs are just flooding us with answers to their questions, answering the same questions, usually multiple times, very respectively, and retweeting that and getting that information out to us. You've been correlating all that, taking it, putting it together, and sharing it with the Anthem community. And I've been going and looking over that. It's actually been something I look forward to each and every week, so I don't have to go and sit here and read through all these different tweets, because you summarize it, you say what's been there, what's not. So I wanted to bring you on, and I really appreciate that you had some time today, because then I also went and guys, I just want to do a call out for action. His channel for YouTube will be in the description of this video. He's like at 630 some odd subscribers, and let's see if we cannot give this guy some love. Go check out his videos, give him an opportunity. He talks a lot about Battlefield and a lot about Anthem, and I believe there's another game that you teased and you talked about briefly in our first take that was for some reason just completely broken. iGame, welcome to the program. Tell everybody about yourself, what you do, and why you do it.
What's up, guys? So I'm iGame. As Brian said, I appreciate it. Also, thank you so much, Brian, for the shout out. That's much appreciated, man. Didn't have to do that. But yeah, I format all the things on Reddit. I also do videos on Battlefield 5 and Anthem. And as we were discussing before, which is a price topic because it's represented to EA. I used to cover in the beginning of the channel Star Wars Battlefront 2. But of course, we know how that all ended up and everything. But yeah, that's mainly what I do.
That ended before it really began. It's actually it feels like it's been this kind of wave that's lasted a year and a half. And out of everybody, I think EA showed up to E3 this year was the most like, hey, we're changing this. Anthem's not going to have loot boxes. Meanwhile, Activision just said, you're going to buy it. We're going to sell it to you. We're not apologizing. We're a business and we're moving forward. And you see the Call of Duty stuff. You see some fallout from Call of Duty and how that's being run. So from your experience with Battlefront 2, because it's changed a lot. I haven't ever picked it up. It was kind of like you kind of see like the writing on the wall, and you're like, I'm gonna avoid that game. And I did, and then all of a sudden it just kind of exploded. Lots of anger, lots of rage. I'm not getting that when it comes to Anthem. I'm seeing a whole different side of it, but yet there's still people out there that feel like they want this game to fail because it is associated with EA. What's your take on that?
I mean, I totally get how everybody feels about EA and what they've had in the past. They felt like they were duped on such games as Battlefront 2. It was definitely a pay-to-win, which a lot of content creators had stated in the beginning that it was going to be a pay-to-win, and they didn't like the idea of the loot boxes and that they had power within the loot boxes. But yeah, it's changed a lot. And there also wasn't a ton of communication, which you're seeing with Anthem. I mean, the devs, I literally make a Reddit post of what the devs are talking about and sources of questions that people are asking. I mean, since Mark Dara did the whole AMAA thing, Ask Me Anything about Anthem after E3 2018, I mean, it's just been constant transparency and communication from that. And even Mike Gamble and Ben Irving popped up in the lead producers. And now you got pretty much the main key producers talking with the community constantly, and even repeating, like you said, repeat questions constantly that I have to say again in the post. Hey, again, this is so-and-so. There is a adjuster for your damage numbers. It's not there anymore, guys.
So for episode 7, like that, the whole reason we started this podcast was really kind of like, is this going to be an EA game? Is this going to be a BioWare game? And I think from everything where I'm seeing is that it definitely feels more of a BioWare game, where EA, I think from an investor perspective, from just a gamer will perspective, at least we don't have to be pro EA, but I think they would probably prefer us not be so like where people are rooting for it to fail because it's so tied to EA. And I'm like, people put 6 years of work into it. I'm going to give it a shot. We're on the eve of the demo. The demo launches on the 25th of January for the VIP, either Origin Basic, Origin Premier, VIP pre-order, or if somebody pre-ordered the game, you're going to get a refer friend code. And, you know, so if you know anybody who's playing on Friday, you know, hit them up, see if they've got any additional codes left. They get 3 for their pre-order. And so the game launches, the demo at 11 o'clock Central on the 25th. So it is not, thankfully, at midnight tonight. So I'm going to get some sleep, some good sleep tonight. But with that, what are we evaluating? I want to go around the horn. And, you know, so I'm going to start with our guest, Mav, and then I want to go Chemistro and then Nightmare. What are we looking for specifically in the demo tomorrow? Like, so after this weekend, essentially, is that how do we tell people that they should give this game a shot? What are the key, like maybe the 2 or 3 key things that you want to see over this weekend to really kind of solidify your stance? Or already are you there? Can I speak English? Probably not. Mav, let's toss to you.
I mean, for me, I'm already there because, like I said, people can hate on EA and everything, but they got to remember that EA is the publisher. They are the ones supplying the money and capital investment, and they probably have a contract with BioWare that if this game succeeds, they'll give them more money so they can further expand on the game. Mm-hmm. And this is truly the BioWare team being transparent and creating the game and making the content of the game. So I'm not too worried on it. But it is awesome that we get to get hands-on in there, even though we've been hands-on it, redacted on what we can say about what the previous playthrough was.
NDA. Yeah.
NDA. But I mean, I think it's awesome that we get to jump back in. I mean, I'm sure you were all excited whenever you got out. You're like, can I play more? Can I not? Just, This is amazing. And so it's nice to see that we can jump back in, get a sliver of what the final cut of the game will essentially look like. There's still going to be some patches and changes and maybe a couple bugs still in this demo. But overall, I mean, what I'm looking for is I'm going to see, of course, we know about personalization. I mean, it is just insane how much customization you can do to these javelins, build diversity. And then, of course, I'm going to look into the story. Of course, BioWare fans are looking for that romances. Hopefully they don't get too upset about the romances. But, I mean, you still implemented it within the story to where you're building that true relationship with the people around you within Fort Tarsis and the whole world, the Bastion. So, I mean, it's going to be epic. So what I'm really looking for is build diversity, how it's going to work, and how crazy can I get with this game and explore.
Yeah. So Chemistro, how about you, man? What are you looking for? What's your evaluation this weekend going to entail?
The key things I'm looking forward to the most is going to be how each of these javelins feels. So we've seen all the different gameplays of what they look like, but gameplay video, while you can't get an idea, there's nothing like actually having the control in your own hands and seeing, all right, I kind of have an idea what I want to play, but is this really the javelin that's right for me? So kind of just fermenting in my mind, that's exactly what I want to play. I'm personally going to go for the Interceptor. We'll see how that goes. Aside from that, like you said, you better bring
that cleanse me of all my debuffs. If there's tons of debuffs going out, I'm going to expect it. We're going to have a requirement here.
Once they show like the aura, I'm like, I will make an Auramancer if possible, just all out for debuffs and whatnot. But as going into that, that's one of the things I do want to agree with you is that I want to see how open this can be. Can this be like Diablo levels of openness where you just get like insanely overpowered builds and gears? It just kind of makes like no sense. It sounds like, some 12-year-old kid is just like, he has the best power and does all this and that, and he has no weaknesses. Or they're going to be like, you can have +1 ammo in your pack. So we've seen this idea of what kind of
like. Oh my gosh, yeah. Or that's just kind of like when we talk about like other games, like with Destiny, it's like that's always like I never felt like what they kind of brought Guardians to be. Like I never there was rarely a moment that it's like, oh, I'm so insanely overpowered, and I get it. Like it's like different games, different audiences in that way. Nightmare, what are you looking for? Also, question like, are we who's controller, who's keyboard and mouse here?
Controller.
Yes, you guys are my people. All right, go ahead, Nightmare.
For me, like they were saying, I'm really looking forward to the customization options of everything. Like I'm super excited about that. I do have some major concerns with some recent things. You mentioned Activision earlier. I have some concerns because with Call of Duty, it launched, they waited for reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Then they hit everybody with the microtransactions. Yeah. They waited for reviews to come out, and then they done that. So that's on Activision. That's not, that's on the publisher, not necessarily the
but the root of the question, the root of the test here, though, is the publisher. Like, if Anthem is a success, how soon is EA going to want to recoup its investment, and will they want to satisfy their investors and their reporting versus the gamers and what gamers are satisfied. Like, how heavy do we get pushed into? Because on the positive sides, again, no loot boxes. The story DLC and stuff is free. Cosmetics and things like that. Like
what they say.
Yeah.
They stick to what they say. They have a very similar Warframe-esque monetization thing. If they stick with that, they will be fine, because Warframe does great. Like, Warframe's monetization is amazing. Like, it's hands down the best you'll ever see as far as how monetization goes.
Yeah. I think as gamers, we just don't want to feel like people are just constantly going through our wallets while we're trying to enjoy the game. I have no problem. Like, I'm glad this is a kind of a pay to play, because obviously you're buying the game. I think that's a smart move. The question is long term, is that, will I spend another dime in this game? Is there a reason to spend another dime? And I highly suspect we will see expansions cost money, but that's kind of a bigger chapter thing. I don't know. Like, whether that's
I'm hoping they don't change it. They said that maybe, like, if they come out with extra javelins, those may be. But as far as
I see an expansion as extra javelins, like, bundled together. Like, because I don't necessarily like to say, let's say they said, here's 4 new javelins. I don't want to buy each one. I want to buy a bucket of them. Like, like, just give me all the tacos and all the javelins, please. And that's exactly how I roll. I eat tacos in buckets. I don't, but it's a long-standing joke. Whenever, like, we have, like, alcohol at the house, I'm like, man, I need a bucket of tacos. It goes well.
Drug munchies.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to become a meme sometime at some point. Anyway, the
complete with your face.
Yeah. So it sounds like, though, I'm like, we can't talk about the alpha, and I wish we could, because it's like,
I didn't even get to take part in the alpha. So
well, then tomorrow's going to be a really good day for you. Yeah. Tomorrow's going to be a really good day.
Like, the website broke, and I was not able to get my, alpha thing put in. Like,
I remember that when that happened.
I was like, oh no!
It's like,
then,
come on, and then I got in. I was so lucky. I felt great. I was happy. I got to check it out. It really kind of helped, because essentially what I said is, like, we're not canceling the podcast. And what's a really interesting piece, and I'd love to know y'all's perspective on it, is that since that point, especially IGN has got to go hands-on, and they've got this great article that, like, 20 hours with it. They kind of really break it down in different sections. Awesome. The game feels like it's a game that has a lot to offer everybody. We talk, Mav, you talked about customization. There's story. There's the gameplay. There's the Diablo loot loop.
I like the diversity of the builds. That is super exciting.
Especially coming off of Final Fantasy. Matt, I don't know if you're aware, like, we also play Final Fantasy 14. Like, it's an incredible game, but they just released its first job that actually can have more than one build, which is really exciting. So for me, I'm really excited to jump into a game where it's like, okay, how do I want to build this job out, this character, this javelin? And kind of go from there and see kind of how overpowered I can make it.
Because, like, with the whole diversity of builds, I'm really interested to see how they do that. Because even with Diablo 3, you had some diversity for your classes, but in general, most of the classes played pretty much, like, regardless of what build you went with, they played very similar to themselves. I'm kind of interested to see how dynamically the class will play depending on what you're using for the class. So, like, with the Colossus, can it become like a knockdown, drag out brawler with, like, a giant hammer or something, and you just run in and just smash things? Or will it stay?
Everybody wants that double-sided axe.
Yeah, double-sided axe, 100%.
Oh man,
100%.
Just cleave enemy javelins right in half.
It's going to be neat to see how that kind of the loot and that whole loop goes, because also at its core, it's a games as a service. This is a game that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we're all hoping that we can kind of get lost in, right?
Oh yeah,
like everybody wants like this game, I think, to feel like the game of either the spring or 2019. Thank God I got the year right, because it's still January. So I'm like 2018. No, it's 2019, Brian.
7 months on, you'll still be putting 19 and having to scratch it out.
In 7 months on, in 7 months, when it's my birthday, I'm gonna forget again how old I am. Like, there's a point where it's like, am I 34? Like 36? Like, what happened? What year? Okay, what year was I born? Let's do some mathematics. And I got it. All right, cool.
It seems after you hit 30, you kind of forget. Like, wait, what? How old am I again?
Well, it's like you have milestones, and it's more that it shifts to your kids' milestones if you have kids. So it's like
the brain just stops aging, but the body moves on.
Yeah. So that's what I'm hopeful for. But then obviously the long-term question is that without a subscription or some form of continual revenue, I mean, maybe the cosmetics are so good that it's like you just kind of have to have it. I think Fortnite is probably a really good example of how they manage that.
So they do it as well, because that game has started from like nothing and is top tier to this day still.
Oh yeah, they're expected to make $2 billion for Fortnite this year alone. Obviously, player volume, and all that, and also has a PvP element, more cosmetic based. That system in and of itself, I think, is incredibly smart because you can buy a season, and as you play, you unlock the content within it. Or essentially, if you're, I guess, running out of time, that you can then just try to purchase. Call of Duty seemed to copy that. I actually am okay with it. What do you guys think? What's the right monetization for cosmetics
with
for
the Call of Duty? With the way they've done seasons, like the first season was kind of like, I was just like, man, that's 200 tiers. Like, real? I think I made it to like 185 for that one.
You almost got there.
Almost. And then
why didn't you finish it off, man? Like, finish this off, Nightmare.
Hey, come on. No, I'm good. With the second one, it's 100 tiers, and I'm like at 60 or so on it. And it's a great idea. It's a great concept, and it works. But at the same time, it's also comes down to how much time do you have to play the game. I mean, it really boils down to that. If you purchase something, like with Fortnite, you actually have to purchase that pass.
Right.
With Call of Duty, if you're like me and wound up getting the season pass with it, because I bought mine through WoW. I got the season pass and everything, so I just have access to those as they come out. So, what I get done of them is cool, and what I don't, But if it's like Fortnite and you have to spend that money, and then if you don't have the time to complete out that tier, then you don't, I don't know, you just don't feel like you got your money's worth out of what you spent.
But I think that's also where if you look at how Fortnite was, they have that battle pass and you go through the progression. But also, if you don't have that pass, I mean, they have these little things that you go through. But
you got some other things.
Yeah, if you look at the model of EA, and I think look at the route of Battlefield 5, I think this is kind of how you're going to see Anthem kind of play out, because they said every cosmetic is earnable game except for, of course, the pre-order editions with the deluxe and the Legion of Dawn edition. Those are the only ones. That's when they've been totally transparent on it. But I think it's going to fall somewhere along the lines of, within Battlefield 5, you have what's called Tides of War. So you literally level up and you get these different cosmetics that you get from there. But you can also purchase them. You also earn company coin the more you play. So I think it's going to be more on that. We have coin within Anthem. So I think you're going to have the same sense. You're going to go out. You're going to get XP. They're going to have some form that they haven't talked about. Like, especially when you reach level 30, you're going to have some probably XP bar that you had kind of similar to how you had in the Division, where you're going to get, they had caches in Division. I bet you it's going to be something along the lines of XP or additional coin in that point. So the more you play, the more you can earn, and then you can do that. But also you can purchase these cosmetics if you so have to have them right then and now. And we know that works because look at Fortnite. Fortnite is the epitome of that live service. Yeah, and I think that's where it's going to be interesting to see that shift from the loot box to that kind of mindset where you get to see what your pathway to it, that you feel like you're making progress, and then essentially then you're left with the essential question is, will I be able to finish this off in time, or do I want to just go ahead and spend the money and have it now? And it's the delayed gratification, but also meaningful progress, not random progress. I don't mind random, and that's one of the things that I think we've already seen in Anthem, like the gear drops. Like, it's like if you don't get a gun that you want, you have a route of the blueprints, which is a way you can forge the weapons. This is brilliant and a good idea, but you have a kind of a balance between random, because random is exciting at its core. The reason why like Vegas works is because there's odds and probabilities and things that can happen and then things that don't happen, and whenever something doesn't happen for a while, but when it does happen, there's that excitement, and that's the game theory, and that's how people can kind of want to get into that loop. At its core, it's going to have to. There's going to be a tug of war. There's going to, and it's going to be more something that players feel than is actually like fact. If players feel like you're not making any meaningful progress towards anything, and you have to purchase it, then it's going to feel cheap. But if it feels like you're making, it's a weird line, because it's not like it's tuned at 60% or whatever like there's no number I can attach to it. Chemistry, you've been quiet for a little bit. Monetization, what's your thoughts?
It's an interesting topic for me as well when it comes to monetization, especially when it comes to a looter type game. Closest thing I can think of that I've had experience with would happen to be Warframe, and I do enjoy the game, but for me, Warframe isn't a game I can play 8 hours a day just continuously. It's something I pick up, play for a couple of weeks, put down, and then come back maybe months later. What can Warframe provide? Not Warframe, sorry. Anthem provide incentive for me to continue playing, and as a customer to continue incentivizing me to purchase as a frequency more of these javelins. Because they said we may have some more javelins in the future, but they don't know. It's what's the frequency of these jobs? Is it going to be every couple months, at once every 6, maybe one every year or so? How many cosmetics are we going to get? I'm a huge fan of cosmetics. I have probably spent at least $100, $200 in the mod station for Final Fantasy 14 on just cosmetics. Fashion is my end game. It's the best.
Fashion frame or like, what is it? Like, I don't know how we're going to coin the term for the Anthem Javelin. Javelin in game? Javelin
and you also know what the announcement was yesterday, right?
No, I might have. Just go ahead.
The new social hub that they announced that's coming to the game.
No, I haven't heard that one.
You're going to have a social hub now where you have 16 players that can go amongst each other within the Forge area.
Oh, thank goodness. Because I was like, always felt 4 was just kind of small.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, 4, I'm hoping for raids like that might be an 8-man or something like that. Something where you can kind of really bring in a bunch of people. But that we don't know about that. They have plans and they kind of tease a little bit. But that's great that we're going to have a social hub of 16.
Yeah, I got to toss this wallet out the room before I start buying cosmetics.
That's my strategy for when I go to Fry's. Like, it's like, all right, Julie, I'm going to Fry's. I just need $20. I take my wallet. Otherwise, I'm going to come back with all kinds of stuff.
You won't have any money left.
No, it's Fry's, and whenever I became an adult and bought a house, Lowe's and Home Depot. Like, I love going to those stores. I'm like, projects. But anyway, okay. So we talked about monetization. Let's talk about content rollout. Let's talk about like that in and of itself, because is it 6 months till we get an update? Is it 2 weeks? Like, what would be the right cadence? Because one of the cool things, if you guys aren't aware who are listening, I'm sure all you guys are aware, is that they're launching with like 6 difficulties, easy all the way to Grandmaster 3, which Grandmaster 3, 3,100% increase, like on just the HP. And
on those difficulties, you don't unlock the last 3 until you get to, as they termed it, Elder game.
The Elder game. Mm-hmm. But they also said they can easily just add in more difficulty. Like that's a back end function. It's not like we have to patch the client. We can push those out, and I would expect that to actually come as soon as people start to find when all of a sudden your gear and your stats and everything, when Grandmaster 3 doesn't offer that insane challenge, that all of a sudden we might see 4 and then 5. It's the torment system.
It's literally the same way Diablo was. Like, I'm assuming, like, as people get gear, as people make builds, Grandmaster 3 will become easy, and they will proceed to add more in, because that was the same way with Diablo 3 when it first launched. It only went up to Master. Then they added in the torments up to 5, and then after a while they went all the way up to 13 with the torments, and then they added in the
Greater Rifts.
Greater Rifts
system.
I had a brain fart for a minute.
So you got to remember, this is similar like Destiny 2 too, where they had light level. They had a certain, what was it, like 300 when it first started out? I can't even remember anymore.
Yeah, it was like 300, I think, as a base.
Yeah, and then they went to 350. Now it's like 651. I mean, Ben talked about already that this is not going to be the final gear score. I mean, the gear score max right now, if anybody wants to know, it's 517, which is the highest gear score you can get out of a piece of gear is 47 times the 11 slots gets you 517.
Nice.
So that's what basically is going to be the chase for right now. But the whole point of this game is to make yourself feel powerful, make you feel like a superhero, essentially going out into this dangerous world and just smashing things to oblivion. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where
gotta have a hammer.
Yeah, he wants that Thor hammer.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
He's gonna have
I can already tell Nightmare is a Colossus.
He is.
I can already tell.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, so that's so what's the right cadence for you? Like then, so what would be your expectation? Obviously, there's going to be people who are just going to run at it to the 517. Mm-hmm. What would be your expectation of a normal? Like when I say normal, just like somebody who's got a day job, somebody who enjoys the game. Like how long should that run? Because you can't make content for people who are going to consume it all in one day. You'll drive yourself crazy as a dev.
There's always going to be people who consume any amount of content in the first week. I mean, look at 14. Look at some of the content creators like Mr. Happy. They will literally consume it all as soon as.
But they stream it. They play games for a living. They're like online all the time. Like
there's always going to be
like that. They are like, that's awesome. We should make content for them. But for the people who are either watching the streams, coming home and playing in the evenings, like what would be the expectation? Not just to finish the story, but like what's that? What is the? I'm just there's no right answer. I'm just curious as to what y'all's expectation would be, because either it's going to get blasted down, either like you playing the demo and it's like, well, like gear drops like candy, and you're replacing it, as faster than you can actually like get accustomed to it, or if it drops too slow and thus you're like man, I haven't got a piece of gear that's meaningful. I ran into that problem with Destiny, and that's kind of the reason why I'm asking. Is like, what's the expectation here as to how long it should take somebody with, just like playing the game like a normal amount. Normal is, everybody's gonna have a different definition of that. Like, what would be your take? I'm gonna start with Nightmare. Like, how many days or how many hours do you think?
For me, with I work graveyard right now, but I'm going to day shift soon, and I've got kids. I would like to see it maybe have something, someone who can burn it down, maybe a week or two. Someone like me who's got limited time to play. It may take me a month, may take me a month and a half. There's no real telling, but I would like to see probably like events or something to kind of fill the gaps to keep the people who are burning things down, satisfied, and maybe have like some kind of big monthly thing that happens, and then possibly every 3 months have like a big like content dump, for kind of like 14 has, every 3 months we have big patches. So I'd like to see, like little filler things all throughout the, as the days or weeks or months go on. And then like possibly every 3 months, some like big content, like a big raid or, something to give us something to do, like every 3 months, something to look forward to.
Right. iGame.
But it also depends.
I thought he was done. There was a nice little pause. I was like, okay, cool.
I let go of the button.
I'm just working my host duties.
I guess it really depends on how well the game does. I mean, it's all going to be about how much money they have to invest back in. So depending on how the things go, I mean, we'll really see. Like, it may do really good. We may get big patches like every month. I mean, there's really no way to tell until once we actually get into the game. But
every month for me sounds stressful. But I'm gonna toss the iGame.
It's not time things. Not time things. It'll be stuff that you can. It's not gonna be like. I don't want it to be like 14, where every 3 months that stuff that you was just doing becomes outdated or useless or what have you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Nightmare on here. I mean, I'm gonna base this maybe a casual player, probably to get your money's worth out of it. I would at least expect 50 to 60 hours of good gameplay to get to that higher level gear score. Maybe not Grandmaster 3 level, because that's going to take more synchronization.
That's more having a squad, because like gear is one piece of it, but knowing how like Mav plays and Chemistral plays and Nightmare plays, like knowing how we work as if we were a 4-man squad, that actually ends up being.
Recruit Mav now.
Do you have a squad, Mav? But no, go ahead. I cut you off, Mav. I want you to go ahead. No pressure.
No, you're good. But I agree too. Like every 3 months seems like a good thing, and I already see that with Battlefield 5. They have roadmaps set out 3 months in advance, kind of giving you. I mean, they set out 3-month roadmaps going on, and Ben's already confirmed that we're going to have roadmaps going forward. So likely we're going to hear more about what they have planned after launch. So probably close to launch, we'll probably have a roadmap for the first 3 months.
That's important. That's actually one of the things I did appreciate, even also about Destiny 2. It's like they kind of said, here's the schedule, and like what Wes was saying, talking about events, is like, okay, this week they might have this, and then this week they might have something. It's kind of a focus you into a certain kind of area of the game for extra rewards or what have you. But they also have talked about, and actually I think I asked the question on Reddit and was answered by that. Like, that's why I was like, there's something about this team where they're taking time to respond to like Reddit posts. Is that, are there going to be like seasonal events? And they're like, what kind of ones do you want to see? And I was like, all of them. Like, I love a seasonal event, and I think. Yeah, and I think the lore from the Shaper's perspective is the most intelligent piece of it all, because at the end of the day, like, the Shaper relics could create anything. Like, why are there snowmen and why is there snow here now? Well, Shaper relics. It's like
snowball fights as the interceptor would just be insane. Let me just put that out there.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty genius if you think about how they created it, because I mean they branched this whole world off of. You can have crazy cataclysmic events that they're talking about. We haven't even seen what the Shaper storms are in store besides since E3 2017. I'm still curious about that.
Then you have the Heart of Rage, which essentially seems like it's the kind of the pivotal story endgame point right now, at least on launch.
So if you read the IGN article, the Heart of Rage was actually created by. So if you remember the last story trailer, the doctor went into that city. I can't remember. I think it was
Freeland or Freeman.
I have it.
It's free something.
Yeah, it's free something. Anyway, in the Bear of Time. But yeah, you saw the light go up. Well, that was the Anthem creation that apparently it's something that can be built and created, and it came out to this catastrophic event that created the Heart of Rage, and that's essentially how it was created in the event, because it's a Shaper relic of some sort that creates this building mechanic of some something. But anyway, I mean, we don't know how the loot's going to go. The demo is going to give us an idea, but we already know that it's been exponentially advanced, so you can get more stuff, get more coin, and have fun with the demo. But we don't know exactly how the loot drops is going to be, and the demo is not the basis of judging that yet. It's more of just getting the experience of the game, having fun with javelins, kind of figuring out what we want to do whenever the game does launch.
I'm so happy they're actually having an open demo that's happening on February 1st, because I think that speaks a lot to their confidence in the game, and hopefully it's going to be something that allows for people who are on the fence to see it. I've often said that I think the Anthem at a minimum needs at least an initial review and a 6-month review. How do they continue to support the game? How is this going? And that's where it's kind of interesting. Games as a service really will struggle at the core beginning of it because of that fact. Because at some point it's like, you know, do they patch in some bad monetization, or is it that, well, it launched in February and the next update is going to be in December, and that's just because that's just the reality sometimes of game development. It's not easy. Things aren't turning around. What I'm looking forward, my litmus test in this demo really kind of falls down into, if I hear a lot of it'll be fixed at release, that's my biggest concern. Now, a bug is a bug.
Yeah, a bug is a bug.
A bug is a bug. Like, bugs will happen. Those can get fixed. But if it's some fundamental catastrophic game just does not work, it's, like, okay, well, when Rangers are all just horribly broken, when everybody says relax, it's just in this way they can't say beta, it's a demo. Like, I have more confidence in the word demo because of it. But I'm worried. That's what I'm looking forward to. Is there going to be a lot of talk on the 27th, the 28th, and 29th? Oh, it's going to be fixed by release. Oh, it's going to be fixed by release. And then if we hear that in February, it's going to be fixed by release.
The fact that they're calling it a demo and not a beta. A lot of devs go with beta, and beta just is. It's not a beta.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's weird though, because like as we open and we talked a little bit about Fortnite, and like just the fact that game's on track to make $2 billion this year, it's still a beta product. They've launched that as a beta, and I've always just wished that games as a service would just release into beta, and then
they do that purposely.
Oh,
they
yeah,
do that purposely,
of course
so because they don't have to go through all the loopholes and everything to get the content out immediately, and that's what causes most games to go into a halt.
It just make money. It just prints, and then if there's a problem, it's a beta, and it sets a weird expectation on different people. iGame, like, since you've been following this game, obviously you feel like you're invested and you've been putting a lot of time in, and you make videos on your channel. What is it that they do that would essentially have you kind of back off of it? Like, what's the thing that gets you to walk away? And again, I'm not hoping that this game fails. I'm not hoping that anybody has to walk away from it. But what is the test for you? Because the test for me is all of a sudden if it's just like it feels like my wallets are constantly either like being rummaged through, but also if people say that, oh my gosh, like it'll be fixed, that's my thing. What's yours?
I mean, I kind of agree with that. If they're not fixing the issues and the problem, like that's what a lot of people say about DICE with Battlefield 5. But they're in constant communication with people. They're being transparent. I mean, they have a weekly update. The community manager, Dan, is super great at transparency. He has a weekly update of all the bug issues going on, which there's quite a bit right now. But I mean, that's happened with every single Battlefield 5. And then a year later, they finally get all the bugs out, and it's an epic game. And people are still playing. There's over 100,000 player count on Battlefield 4 still, which is insane. But yeah, it's more my downfall of kind of backing away from the game would be if there, for one, wasn't enough content being issued out. I'd have to back off and then come back whenever like a new DLC release. Like Destiny 2 is a good example of that. Forsake, Osiris didn't do it for me. That's kind of where my fallout came around.
That's my most viewed video. Like, for as much as I talk about a lot of games, like I have like the #1 video still on my channel today is when I quit Destiny. I'm like. Okay, like I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. Anyway, but yeah, Osiris just sucked.
Osiris, it felt bad. I mean, I heard great things about Forsaken. They totally changed it and kind of brought back that D1 element, but I'm not back in it because now I don't have time because there's now Anthem's coming out.
It's so important to make a good first impression. Chemistral.
Yeah. Two things that would cause me to back out. First is just being if you don't keep up, you're left behind.
How hard is it to start like in 6 months, right?
Yeah. And this is why I have such a hard time keeping up in Final Fantasy 14. It's just like, me, I fail epically at keeping up with the main story quest. I'd rather just spend all my day in Palace of the Dead, which is a repeatable dungeon iGame. And I can just do that day in, day out. And because of that, since I don't keep up with the main story quest, I can't really play with everybody else. So if that's the same thing in Anthem, everybody else is ahead, And I'm not much of a solo player when it comes to gaming, so I might just, oh, it's not for me. Can't play with my friends. I'm going to put it else. But that's more of a personal problem. As far as something else that they would do that caused me to back away is just, to put it honestly, if they lie to us, if they say, hey, no loot boxes, but they start putting in loot boxes. Just because these people say they do things, but people are also fickle and do have the capacity to lie.
At the end of the day, though, like, I'm hoping that they don't. But the other side of the coin is like people spend $800 million on loot boxes in FIFA. It's like that is such an insane number, and that I think represents a different type of gamer. Like when you look at like 1 billion gamers worldwide, it's like not everybody might even identify as that, but people are playing these games and they have different expectations, and I think they've been trying to get that audience in with some of these more traditional hardcore gaming based games. I'm gonna throw to iGame here because essentially I won't let you, because I know you have the information, because the thing that Chemistry brings up is basically level sync, jumping in and out with friends. I really appreciate what they've shown us and what they've talked about. I'm gonna let you kind of break it down because I want to make sure.
I was gonna go there too when he was talking about it as well, but yeah,
I saw you thinking. I was like, I'm gonna let him talk about it.
The rebuttal about it is, though, so before I get into it, the thing about Division, why it died, was because it's so hard to get into that high gear score. And this is kind of my opinion. Of course, everybody knows that there's still a ton of people still playing it and waiting for Division 2 to come out. But the issue was that you couldn't, once you got to a high gear score, like enemies were beyond your path. You would die one headshot, you're gone. And it just got frustrating to some people. And if you played with your friends, you kind of just sat back in the back, kind of undercover. Y'all done yet? Waiting for them to kind of end the mission and get your gear score and get the gear that you needed to get back to their level. With Anthem, they've solved that. The enemies are scalable to that certain player's gear score. You may not be able to do the crazy thing that your friends are doing with all their different rarities and their synchronizations of their gear, but you can still essentially help out. Yeah, you can still help out. You're not getting one shot by these enemies. It's gonna be scaled to your actual gear score.
And it goes back and forward. That's the thing that I think is so important. That it's like I could go, if Chemistral's behind, I could go join him, or he can come and just join us. And there's no barrier. He might have something ruined story wise, but that's his choice. Yeah, Sorry,
on the note of the level sync thing with the whole difficulties they've announced. Here's the question: is the difficulty going to be set per player? So, like, if I choose easy and y'all are on Grandmaster 3, can we play? Or is it going to scale that way, or how is that going to work?
I think it's
no. They've already answered that. If you as a player have unlocked Grandmaster 2, 3, whatever, after level 30, your friend can play with you even if they're level 1. Not that they're going to have a great time. We don't know what it's going to be like for them.
Sign me up. If this is like a permanent hardcore mode, I will do it.
But yeah, see, that's my question. Is like how is those different difficulty selections going to like pan out for people? So like even before you get to 30. Like, let's say Chemistral wants to play on easy because, just because, and I'm playing on medium and Brian is playing on hard, or, what have you.
I think the party leader sets the difficulty. I don't think it's not.
See, that's my question. Like, is it going to be,
Well, is it going to be impossible for you to have fun? And I think that's where, as a squad, we make that decision, right? Where, as a squad, if they're just melting down, let's pick me so I don't pick on Chemistral. But Chemistral, he just sucks as a human being and a player. So let's say I'm just not able to keep up. Then the question is like, well, is the experience about playing with each other, or are you really trying to get a certain piece of gear or advance your gear level because you're trying to work on some kind of goal? And that's then as a squad that we have to make that decision, and that's just, I think that I respect that because I think it puts the player choice in hand. I think if you made it to where he was playing on easy, it's like, hey guys, I'm rolling Grandmaster, you guys roll easy so that we can easily burn this down. It just kind of, that doesn't seem to fit. It's like if we're all in Grandmaster, it's going to suck. But we're going to have a good time because we're working together. And you probably are also maybe advancing much further along in your XP level in your gear score, so it'll be an interesting way to see if that's a way that we power level people up. If all of a sudden you're coming in 6 months later and instead of getting one shot, we're going G3, you're going to get all the best stuff. You're going to be level 30 in 10 minutes. Let's go, you know.
Well, the issue with that you would run into is the loot table too, because the loot table is based off your pilot level. So unless you're at level 30, you're not going to get that chance for that legendary or whatever masterwork.
Okay, that's where I got confused, because I was thinking that it was about like the rarity. Like you could have an ultra rare level 5 weapon or something like that. But I guess that is where it ticks over. Okay.
I believe that's where it's scalable too. So if like, even if they're doing that hard content, if they're not at that certain pilot level or gear score, I think it's somewhere around there. I can't remember which part it's based upon, but if you're not at that point,
based off of your level and your gear level, basically. That's pretty much the same way Destiny 2 is set up right now. So like if somebody's playing in the higher end, they're like light level 500 and you're light level 385, you're still going to get light level that's averaging around what yours is.
And I think it's so you don't have that power level, basically a cheese mechanic.
It'll be seen though from an XP gain, because it's that, is it more efficient for us to play together, for him to level, or does it make it more sense for us to go join him so he can get caught up?
XP I think it would work that way.
We're gonna have to test. Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like a test.
Yeah, it's like, all right, at what level ranges is what XP? Gun test. There's going to be so much interesting content, I think, that's going to flow out of this weekend and then into the following weeks. And then after the game, the nice thing about live service games is why I think it's really good for, like, you know, streamers and for, like, obviously YouTubers, that they provide, you know, like updates and things that change. That means things that you can talk about. It's not like, well, you played the game, it's done, here you go, moving on. And so that's actually one of the things that's really kind of shifted the landscape. You know, it's like you see, you know, these single player games like, okay, good. With the exception of like Red Dead 2, because they have an online component. Like, I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing even more and more, even single player games bring in some kind of online component,
some kind of online aspect to it.
I wonder, like, it's the question I have about Final Fantasy 16. It's like, is Final Fantasy 16 going to have some kind of multiplayer component? Because
talking about PvP, right?
Well, I mean,
not necessarily PvP, but like single player. Let's say like Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, is it going to have like a co-op multiplayer thing later?
Now, PvP, you bring it up. It's a really important topic, because I find that the lack of PvP at launch, and they've said that, like, you know, we don't know if it's going to come at some point, but it's interesting because it gives them a lot of freedom PvE wise, you know, and that's actually something that I think is the most exciting. Crazy weapons, crazy builds, etc. But the lack of PvP ends up also being the question of the like, if we said that there's an update every 3 months, that seems like a really good cycle. But PvP also is a really good gap to fill in any kind of content you've cleared. Like, you're at your score, you've got everything you want, you've got your perfect build, you've done everything. Like, what do I do now? Like, well, PvP is a content, you know, filler, you know, and that's where, like, Destiny kind of has all these different elements, and that's why I don't think Anthem is actually competing in Destiny's space. Like, there's similarities, but it's not. Like, I get how people are frustrated with Destiny, and they're probably going to come over to Anthem. But Anthem's not a first-person shooter. Anthem's, you know, doesn't have PvP. Anthem is, you know, primarily PvE action RPG. Where do you follow iGame on PvP and whether it should be included at some point or not?
I mean, I'm obviously a PvP player. I play Battlefield quite constantly. But with Anthem, I think it's so hard with PvP because it causes a balancing issue with the dev. I mean, we saw it in Destiny 2. I mean, you had this, I forgot, some prison linear fusion rifle or whatever that just broke multiplayer to like crazy. Just everybody had to have it or else you were out as the meta. And that's the issue you run in with PvP. And my thoughts with Anthem is I want to feel super powerful with my friends. I want to be able to take on like the hardest content and be able to come up with these crazy builds and not have it be changed or balanced inappropriately because of PvP. And that's my issue with PvP being an Anthem. But if it does come to fruition, I mean, as long as they balance it properly, I'm fine with it. I mean, it's whatever the community wants is essentially how this game is going to grow. And that's what I'm looking for.
What do you guys think if they pulled like a Halo in terms of PvP, where PvP, you just have, everybody has either standard builds or like one or two options, and then you fight over power up. You know, it's like, okay, like if you control this area, maybe now you have an upgraded version of that gun or something of that nature. That's where I always felt like Destiny was just weird, especially with the competitive. It's like, just make it, just standardize it. Everybody, like, warlocks are a warlock, a hunter's a hunter. This is the PvP mode, and then maybe have the same crazy, like, okay, the non-rules, non-balance. This is just insane, just for fun. You want your gear score matters, go nuts, have fun over here. But from if you're trying to go with a competitive mindset, like some kind of there was a big push for esports. I think Destiny's like, yeah, we're not doing that now. But with Anthem, if I see it, I want from that, like, I love the crazy, but yeah, just give it to where it's like, here's your Ranger build, here's your Colossus build. Like, you pick your javelin, your javelin, and you go in, and every Colossus is a Colossus, every Ranger is a Ranger. And maybe just like with Overwatch, you can't pick the same one. Like, everybody's got to be different.
That could work. My thing with the whole, like, iGame said, with the balancing things, you can't tell me there's no way to really balance it specifically for PvP and leave the PvE side alone. Because Final Fantasy 14 does it all the time. Their balance for PvP is completely separate from the PvE aspect. And there's other games that do the same thing. There's got to be ways that you can balance the PvP portion without touching the PvE side of it.
Yeah, and as long as they do that, I'm totally fine with it. That's the main thing, is just making sure that they keep PvE, PvE, and PvP on PvP side, and just not mess with the balancing on.
They just
on
have
the other
to
side.
take some notes. That's all they have to do. Take some notes.
What if we went real crazy and said Battle Royale?
Oh God!
That's
No
the
more
Shaper
Battle
Storm.
Royale, please. No more.
The
I don't know
Shaper
how
Storm
that would
is
work with
streaking in
Anthem.
2030.
It'd be kind of cool to see.
I mean, you still have your javelins. You still have, it's like, I don't know.
Instead of a storm coming through, you have a cataclysmic thing. The ground just starts coming up, and if you get hit by it, it just smashes.
It's just like it gets condensed.
Stashes are like shaper caches, like over in the corner, that gives you like shaper weapons to use for the fight.
Well, I mean, and the real, like, on the theme of the question behind it is that, like, with the success of, I mean, just, I would even say the blackout mode in Call of Duty, but like, we've got 3 major players in the battle royale space. Is there room for more? Is there ways that they can take these games and twist them up in a way that would be just an interesting piece of content? Who knows? Like, I think, when we talk about PvP, like, I love PvP games. The biggest problem I have in 14 is the long queue times to do that content. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because it's so long to wait, I just don't even bother going in, and thus it continues to be longer and longer to wait. And it's like, man, like, so I go play it in other games, and I've really enjoyed the blackout mode in Call of Duty. I enjoyed Fortnite. I wasn't as good at building. That's really that's my problem. It's more about like, shooting is a skill that you need in that game. Building is the skill that keeps you alive. So you can shoot. If you cannot build, you will, most likely get caught off guard and not be able to shoot. And you see these guys, they're just like,
Yeah, you can make it to the end.
Like, all of a sudden, like, there was one, I think when I played with like a group of friends one night, and it, like, we just like see this guy, and all of a sudden my buddy like pops a shot at him, and all of a sudden there's like a castle in the sky.
Yeah.
And everybody's above me, and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit down here, guys.
I'm gonna hide in this bush.
Exactly.
I'm playing the long game. No, I bring it up because it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead. iGame.
Oh, it's Chemistry.
Oh, Chemistry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, now, speaking of Battle Royale, personally, I'm not a fan of Battle Royale. I'm more of a fan of mobile type gameplays, but I do see something that Anthem could do a little bit differently if they wanted to, is we have the ability to fly in Anthem. And imagine that in a Battle Royale setting. You're not going to want to fly, exposing yourself from like sniping someone else. So that could make it a lot more, like, you're hiding. These environments are huge.
The levels are just gorgeous.
Yeah, so it would really play well to hide and just, kind of wait out, get the perfect opportunity, get to jump on someone. Say like you're underwater, you see someone kind of going above near the shore, and you just pop out from the shoreline and just start railing into them.
Can you pause for a second? Like, think about how hard it would be to hit an interceptor triple dashing around your ass.
Oh, Lord.
That's why I'm playing Interceptor.
The whole point is to get in before anybody knows that you were there, and then get out. I'm not saying it would be balanced. I'm not saying, but I'm just like, I'm wondering to see, like, where can these, like, because Battle Royale is a relatively new kind of game style, and the question is it a fad, or is it something that literally is going to be here to stay? And I don't see anything, because, like, MOBA is a game experience that I despise, and I'm not actively going and saying if you play MOBA you're a bad person. I'm just saying, like, I have tried, and it has every time just left a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm just done. I don't enjoy it. I'm not having fun. But then Battle Royale comes out, and some people don't like that, but then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something that kind of is new experience. And that whole idea, I guess really at the core of it, like beyond Battle Royale, I'm hoping that we'll get to see content that is built for more than just 4 players in this game. I'm hoping for either some kind of 8-man raid. I'm hoping for some kind of content that essentially, because at the core of it, it's easy to find 4 people to do things. But the question is that if this game is immensely successful, like all of a sudden it is just a huge, great RPG, you know, Monster Hunter World style, everybody's playing it, except for they don't really stop because it's a games as a service, as opposed to kind of a, you know, single playthrough experience for the most part. You can do a lot in that game, but, you know, is that going to be where it's like, man, I wish, like, guys, we got 16 people who want to play this game tonight. What squads are we running? You know, it's like, how epic would it be if we could all find something to do in this game together, if that ever happened or whatnot. And that's just kind of, it's going to have to wait and see. I mean, that's all it's going to have to be. Just wait and see.
Touching up on that, and also kind of finish up the PvP segment as well, is if you can remember World vs. World from Guild Wars 2.
Yes, I love that.
Having something like that in Anthem would be astounding, because for those of you who don't know, World vs. World, it's like 3 servers versus each other, and it's hundreds of players versus hundreds of other players. But the cool thing is, World vs. World, you keep your PvE gear. All like your skill numbers and whatnot they have a different like number value to them for the PvP terms, but your build that you have in the PvE world is used in that PvP mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could work. That actually might be more fitting more of that RPG, because it gives you that week-long goal, that, you know, or that month-long goal, or something that beyond your getting coin, beyond you know, getting that gear level. Like what, like, you know, is there a bar that we're helping the freelancers rebuild and take that over? I thought, like, anybody have any other thoughts on PvP? Because I want to talk a little bit about the story and the lore.
No, go for it.
Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things I really actually enjoyed, especially about the IGN article, and they touched on it, if you can find the full name of the Freetown that got just decimated. But one of the things that was really cool.
Mark, by the way.
Which one?
Free Mark.
Free Mark, thank you. So that's Tarsus, essentially, like the freelancers went to go and try and, I guess, save that city or defend it, and they failed, and that's why we're in such dire straits at the start of Anthem. And I thought that was a nice little touch, because it's like, yeah, why have we fallen out of favor? Like, can we help restore faith in what the freelancers represent, along with the other different factions? I think one of the things that they've set up, we talked about it briefly, about the Shaper Storms being a really interesting element for storytelling, because essentially, like in other games, like it's magic. Like at some point, like you're like, why did that happen? Magic. In this case, it's like, oh, Shaper relics. They were left by these gods who worked for 3 days and then decided to leave. They had 9 days. It's like you have a project manager. It's like, we got 9 days of work, and it's like at day 3, everybody just up and left. You know, it's like, all right.
Okay. On the side note of you saying
Go ahead.
The gods thing, I've looked some more into the lore. I'm leaning more towards that they might not be gods.
Well, yeah.
It's like, just throw that out there.
It's always interesting, because is that, you know, because at any time, like if that, you know, that's one of the things like about Star Trek. I love Star Trek. It's the whole, like, you know, Prime Directive, because it's that people will worship, you know, like we are further advanced, therefore we will be seen, you know, like as something that we're not in that case. I thought so that who knows, like they could be gods, but I just see them in my mind as just an advanced society that's terraforming this world and ran out of a budget. Like,
just left.
Like, you know, maybe there was a war back on their home world. Maybe
they had a couple kids while they were waiting.
Yeah.
And they just took off.
But then you also have, you know, so you have
pulled the plug.
You have the Dominion, which the Dominion is an interesting concept. Everybody here know about them, because I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just the idea that
the Dominion looks kind of interesting.
Well, they're human. The Dominion is a human faction.
Just with a different outlook on how things should be used.
If you can control the Anthem of Creation, you know, maybe you can prevent all this needless death and destruction. And in order to get it, you have to cause a lot of death and destruction. Do the ends justify the means? You know,
sacrifice hundreds to save millions is the concept there.
Yeah,
Griffith.
I feel like the Monitor had something like family or something, because he seems like dead set on stopping the suffering. So I think something dark had to have happened to that guy.
Or is happening, or you know, he's, you know, you've seen enough that you're like, enough, whatever, you know. It's like, it's not hard to see somebody get there. It's very difficult, and that's going to be, I hope the Monitor ends up being the villain who is the hero in his own eyes, because that's, I think, always makes the best kind of villain. The villain who is like, I am doing, like, you don't get it, like you are evil because you're trying to stop me, and I know how to fix it. And nobody will listen, and thus I have to resort to force, you know, etc. That's the villain I hope he is. I hope that he's not sitting here like, I'm going to be evil for the sake of evil. It's no, you don't get it. This is justified because it's going to save your life. I don't, where maybe the inner conflict with him is confused as to why you're trying to stop me, unless he's just genius and he's like, I know why you're trying to stop me, but I've seen the future. The Anthem has shown me, who knows what it could do.
Why is it
in other words, kind of like a Thanos feel to him, basically?
Yeah.
Is where you're going with that?
What were you going to say, iGame?
I was going to say, why do I get the feeling of Star Wars? Like, you remember the whole thing with Star Wars, how Anakin turned into Darth Vader and he was being controlled by Palpatine the whole time. And Palpatine was the true enemy who turned him to the dark side. Why do I get the feeling that the Doctor kind of manipulated either the Monitor or they were in the same boat and somehow he's controlling that? It could go into that route too. We don't know.
We also haven't seen the stories, they haven't seen the Doctor since that day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, yeah, he could be, who knows? He could be joined with the Anthem. It's like that's an RPG trope where you've disappeared and then you get there and he's like, I now have control over this, etc. Where he's gone mad with power.
Yeah.
And then you have the is it the Scourge? Like what's the alien or
the Scars?
The Scars. Thank you. I was like, it starts with an S. I'm dyslexic, so I misread words all the time. It really makes for. It's like one of the reasons I was off of YouTube. I didn't do YouTube for so long, and it was one of the things that makes me laugh now because people were like, "You mispronounce this word. How is that possible?" I'm like, "You wrote it out, and I still see it the way it sounds." Like I'm like, send me an audio file, and I'll memorize.
How many comments I've gotten on that? You mispronounced this word. Tomato, sir. Just go with it.
Yeah. Did you understand what I meant? Good. The but its core, like they've said that we believe that they're an alien invading race, and then the BioWare has cautioned that they might not be alien and they might not be invaders. So don't make that assumption. They haven't alluded to it. They could be, but I think that's a nice touch. So you have the Scars, you have the Dominion. I think there's probably other factions. I know there's probably good factions that we're working with, but have they revealed any other like adversarial factions?
The Outlaws.
Ooh.
I've got a theory about the Scars.
Okay, what's your theory?
I got a theory that the humans showed up to the planet and the Scars are the native population of said world, and they're just fighting back against the people who are basically destroying their planet in their eyes.
Possibly, but I think the world was created, and I believe the Scar. If I read it somewhere before, I think the Scars were created by the Anthem of Creation somehow.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be entirely wrong.
Well, just from the way I was reading like the IGN article and the way they was talking about the story and the lore, it just seemed like we kind of showed up, or that other race showed up to this planet and just kind of started creating things.
We have an Avatar themed game going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for we can breathe the air. Yeah, go. Sorry, what did you say, Kevin?
Listen, here's a question I have about this being the BioWare game and whatnot. We have like Knights of the Republic, Dragon Age, all which gives us different types of choices. We can actually make and join different factions and whatnot. Do you think this will also kind of fall into that? Can we join these other factions eventually in Anthem, and maybe later on the line, different DLC or maybe expansions, we can actually like change factions altogether and pursue like our own storylines? Like we're not tied.
I want to use the Anthem.
Yeah, it's like we don't have to be tied to
the Monitor makes a good argument, guys. Let's
come
on, guys, just trust them. Let's go.
Just trust the guys.
I'm curious as to, because like I wasn't aware of the Outlaws, which is really, so I was like, man, I'm glad you're here. At the end of the day, like I feel like it's very hard for them to make, like, we can't make big decisions as to this character dies, because in the main story that character continues to live, right? If they have a kind of a story they want to take us on. But what do you think, iGame? Like joining different factions, or like what level of impact are we really going to have on the world story wise?
I feel like I've heard them talk about this too, that you're not going to be able to be in the other faction. But again, this is not, I mean, this could be something that they expand upon later, where it gives you that choice, because we know BioWare, they're all about the choices in the story, and that's why so many people replay these games so often, is because they have these choices. Whether or not we can join a different faction or not, I mean, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. If they did do that, it'd be tough on the story element, and I think that's why they might not do it, is because they base the whole story around it's my world, our story, or I may have
my
that
story,
backward.
our world.
My story, our world. I had that backwards. And the whole basis is that we are creating our own story, and our choices don't affect another player's choice while we're out in the world. So that's a tough one. I don't know how they would actually do that one.
Yeah, that's where I'm not so concerned about it. Like for me, I want a good story. I want great gameplay. I want a repeatable, loop. And like as far as games with stories, it's like an online game. it gets very. I'm interested to see how they pull it off, because if the choices are benign and they mean nothing, then why have them in the first place? And if
that's my main concern is like choices like why even have them there if they're not really going to affect anything?
Right.
Yeah, it's like yes, no, sarcastic answer, but it all leads to this scenario.
Yeah, and we can't date anybody, and some people are really upset about that. Like, who knows? Maybe they'll add that in, but it's like who knows? Don't worry about it. Maybe you can just date them in your mind if you're really upset about it.
That's like Maple's main concerns, because that's been in like a staple for every other BioWare game. I mean, even all the way back to the was it Knights of the Old Republic, I think.
A wolf was there in the room. All right, so final thing, as we go around the horn, what if you were talking, obviously, like as we're talking to people who are on the fence about this game, and if they've hung out with this whole episode, this is probably a better thing to open up with. But what would you guys say to somebody who's on the fence?
You can edit it to the front.
Yeah. No, I'm not. No. So what would you guys say to somebody who's on the fence? I'm gonna start with Chemistral. Like, if you were saying, like, if somebody's like, should I get this game or should I not? Obviously, like, this weekend's gonna be an important thing, but not like a way to convince them. But what would you tell them about this game? What is it? And essentially, it's kind of the question of what really excites you from what we've heard about this game. Like, how would you explain that to me?
Best way. I wish I didn't start first. Honestly, there's just so much about this game. I don't think I could give it a good explanation, but instead I would say we have the VIP demo. Most importantly, we have a free demo that you're welcome to try. Mm-hmm. Give it a try, see what you like, and keep an eye and ear. Like, I would discourage against just closed-mindedly judging it just because EA is publishing it. I'd say be wary, be very wary, but come at it with an open mind. Not all first party games have to be money grabbers. This could be the perfect game to start off 2019 with, and we'll only have to wait and see.
Yeah. Nightmare.
For me, like, just everything. I really don't know. Like Kim said, just kind of keep an open mind about the game, and the sense that don't make too much assumptions. It is EA. But as far as the game goes, it looks like a great game. It really does. And I really hope with their demo, like, please pull an old school. Keep the demo, once like the game launches, keep the demo up. Allow people to like try the game before they buy it. Like, that would be a great thing to have. Just like have that demo there.
If they don't have it on day one, I can highly suspect they would add that at some point. It just makes sense from a way of getting people into a game. The free trial demo into purchase is just, it is the right business model for these kind of games. They continually update.
It's always been a thing. Like back in the day, you always you go to like the Xbox store and you could like try demos for all these games.
The wolf is back.
Yeah.
iGame.
Like you can try to do.
It's a wolven.
Morgan.
I mean, I'm on the same fence. I mean, initially, BioWare has already answered that question by providing us with a demo. And if they're really interested in the game, you've seen the video and everything, I mean, I would say try the demo, because that's going to give you the real true impression. Until you get your hands on the game, you're really never going to truly know how this game is going to feel. And I think the demo, like you said, keep the demo on as long as possible.
Yeah, keep that on your radar for sure.
I don't know if they're going to actually do the model that Nightmare talked about, where they have a demo. I know it's been a thing, but I don't know if they want to ruin the story from the beginning as well. So if they do the demo now, I mean, there's no telling. But there's so much depth in this game; it's hard to focus in on one point to focus in. So my connection with people would be, what do you find most interesting about the games that you play already? And then I can dive into that element, whether it's the story, whether it's the gear diversity, where it's the customization that you want, whether it's the free open world that you can explore that's just, by God, beautiful. Yeah. Or if you just want to fly like Iron Man, that should be the easiest one. Do you want to be Iron Man? Come over to Anthem.
Yeah, exactly.
Want to be Iron Man? Come over to Anthem.
I'd say I think I'd answer that question in a way of inviting people to check out the demo. I think that's the most important thing on February 1st. B, the second most important thing is, are people still playing and talking about this game in 6 months? If the fact that if this game, if that happens, I would I think the right approach. What kind of games do you like, and why aren't you trying out Anthem? Why haven't you jumped into this game? Because it's obviously they continue to do that. It will be interesting to see, because it's like I can understand it and where people are coming from boycotting EA. Like the question is that is this a BioWare game or first, or is this an EA game first? And Has EA learned? Have they gotten hit hard enough from Battlefield 2? Like, obviously that's Battlefront 2. Well, actually, that's kind of one of the reasons this podcast was founded. And with that, so one of the other things that's interesting, and as we wrap up the show, I think iGame for coming on, and we were going to do a round of plugs for what everybody's working on. But IGN, Destin Legarie, who's got the Fireteam Chat, he's started an Anthem podcast. He's been the guy who's been seeing it, behind the scenes. They're going to be playing it live this afternoon, the demo early with their IGN first kind of concept. It speaks volumes that he is actually investing that kind of time into this game. The question is he tired of Destiny, and thus he's like, I need to find a way to talk? Or, because Fireteam Chat, I don't see that wrapping up anytime soon. And with the recent Activision Bungie split, that game could actually, become something that I might want to come check out here in a year or two. But at its core, I think it speaks volumes the amount of people who've been able to go hands-on with it and how they're maintaining content. The question is that will that content maintain after the fact? If it doesn't, then they'll just move on to whatever the next big thing is. But if it does, then that's just going to be all the more interesting. The more people talking about the game, covering the game, playing the game, I think is going to be interesting, because if it's successful and it's good, we're going to get more success and good out of it. And I think that's good for BioWare, and that's good for, the games industry as a whole, because these people have put 6 years into this. That's a long time.
Crossplay too.
Oh, freaking yes. And crossplay. Absolutely.
Please crossplay.
So what platform are you playing on, iGame?
I'm on Xbox, but I am building a PC here in a month. So
very cool. Hey. Well, we'll be able to play together if you're interested.
I want that full frame rate, man. I mean, freaking.
I got it. When it boots up, it's like at 200, and then it's like running at 100 something on my box.
Like,
we'll have to see how it streams.
You're gaming at 144 FPS, like constantly. Like that is just fantastic.
Oh man, I don't even have a monitor that does that, so we'll have to see. I'll have to wait and save up some money. So I'm going to actually be playing the game on Xbox and PC. So I've got it installed on both. I am ready for tomorrow. And so that's what I'm going to be playing tomorrow. So you're going to be playing on Xbox. Where can people find you? And what kind of content can they expect for you? Guys, again, he's getting so close to 1,000. Let's get him there. I really would love for everybody watching this to go and give him some love. iGame, what are you working on? What you doing? And where can people find you?
So I'm going to be covering a ton of Anthem. Of course, I'm going to be probably more on the analytical side, testing builds and abilities and ranges and all that kind of stuff. There's actually an interesting discussion video I think y'all like today, talking about status effects and the dynamic weather, and what I think would be a cool mechanic that they could possibly expand on the game that I don't think is in the game currently. But all my handles, iGameHDR, on whether it's Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, that's where I can be found. And you can ask me anything. I'm down to answer any questions. I'm trying to clarify as much as I can out there for people. All
right. Chemistral, what you working on? Where can people find you?
You can find me as Chemistral on YouTube, and currently I'm finishing up sort of Phantasy Star Online retrospective, if anybody even remembers that little game. So I haven't tried any videos like that before. Just kind of toss my hat in the ring, see how it goes. Aside from that, looking forward to creating some more Anthem content and looking to get back into Guild Wars 2. So there you are.
Very cool. And Nightmare, what you up to?
Give me just a second.
All right. Well, Nightmare's working on his kits and helping out, being an awesome dad. So for me, I do the work to game stuff. I've actually started, I moved my blog over to my kind of personal channel, just because it's like, I've been producing so much like video game content that it's just easy for things to get lost over in work to game. So I hope you guys check out the vlog. I'm going to do it just kind of as a weekly thing. And then obviously working on, just all kinds of stuff. I'm really excited about Anthem, and we putting together some various guides on the game, the javelins and things like that. I released yesterday kind of like which javelin should you pick, and just kind of a breakdown of the skills and what they have, and what their strengths are, how their playstyle plays. And so I thought that was actually a lot of fun. I was really happy to get that out, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that and breaking down more guides for you guys as well. And then obviously we'll give you hands-on impressions. We'll have to get back together, iGame, if you're free. Would love to have you back on the show.
Anytime, man.
And then, especially sometime after we can talk about what we've played.
No NDA. We're not redacted anymore. We're golden.
Yes, we're free.
Yes, and here is how it is. It's I can't say.
Love to have you in our squad to join us too. By the way, when you get that PC.
Well, yeah, he gets the PC, but I'm like I said, I'm gonna be on Xbox and PC tomorrow. So who knows? Maybe I'll be live streaming. We'll be playing with some iGame. Who knows what we'll play. I got a couple other content creators.
We have one dropout, so if you want to join in tomorrow,
I might take you up on that offer for sure. All right, guys. For work to game. Okay, yeah. Wes, what are you working on?
Hold up.
I was just gonna be like, bye.
It's okay. Be quiet.
Yeah, it's okay. For me, you can catch me at Nightmare Demon Gaming. That's on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you may be looking. That's usually the handle. As far as YouTube goes, I'll be doing some more. I'm definitely planning on be doing some Anthem videos for the YouTube. I got to get more into that editing, but usually you're going to see a lot of streams coming for Anthem. So that's every Monday and Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So stop by, feel free to chat, and let's get our freelancers flying, shall we?
That we shall. That we shall. All right, guys, for Work to Game, my name's Brian. Just going around the horn. Catch up.
This is Nightmare.
I'm Sir Mav.
We did it. All right, guys. We'll be back either next week or the following. We try to target every 2 weeks for the podcast. You can catch us on iTunes, on YouTube, on Google Play, wherever podcasts are found and downloaded and listened to.
On carrier pigeon, smoke fires.
Yeah, please feel free to leave us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. Leave us a question in the comments below. Check out iGame. Check out Camera Show. Check out Nightmare. All the content that these guys are rocking and rolling. And we will catch you next time. We need some kind of cool sign off, but we don't have it. Freelancers get paid. I don't know.
Yeah, let's freelance, folks. Let's be honest.
It'd be great if we had like our javelin helmets. We just go and just blast off screen.
Yeah,
oh man,
would be great.
Yeah, let me let me hire an animator there. Hey, it's me. It's been a while since I talked to you guys directly this way, but don't tell anybody. We've got even more epic content planned for this channel. The response has been incredible. We hope to see you. If you're new, hit subscribe, leave us a comment. I'd like to talk to you more about video games. I can't seem to speak my language. All right.